Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. With us now on the phone from the campaign trail is former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Speaker Gingrich, thanks for talking to us.
I'm delighted to talk to you. I'm always excited to have a chance to talk with Newsmax.
All right, well, let's focus on Super Tuesday. You've been campaigning hard this week, especially in Georgia, your home state. You are leading in the polls in Georgia. What does a win there do for your campaign?
Well, I said all along, both for Governor Romney in Michigan and Senator Santorum in Pennsylvania, as well as myself, you pretty much have to carry your home state because that's where folks know you best. And it looks now like we're going to carry Georgia by 4 or 5 times the margin that Governor Romney got in Michigan. So we feel very, very good about that. Georgia is also the state with the most delegates that is up on Tuesday. So that's a big deal, too. The latest polls in Tennessee now look very, very good. And Senator Fred Thompson is helping me there. We don't have any polls in Oklahoma, but we have a really good sense of progress, and Congressman J.C. Watts is helping out there. So it's a very exciting time. We've also been campaigning in Ohio, where our goal is we think we'll come in third, but we think we'll have a real opportunity to be picking up a number of delegates in Ohio. And we have some hopes in Idaho and in North Dakota, in Alaska, where Todd Palin is making calls for us and being very helpful. And we also have some more long-shot hopes in Massachusetts, where there are a group of conservative Republicans who are very unhappy with the Romney governorship, which they thought was far too liberal. So, everywhere we turn around, there's some good things happening, and I think we will do well enough tomorrow night to move on, and we hope to win Mississippi and Alabama and Kansas next week, which would then really put the campaign in high gear.
Well, I want to ask you about a 2009 op-ed that Mitt Romney wrote for the USA Today, in which he urged President Obama to learn lessons from Romney Care in Massachusetts. Governor Romney says Obama should enforce a mandate on all citizens to get health insurance and model his plan after Romney's. Obama says he did just that. Now, aren't Republicans ceding a significant issue here if they do nominate Mitt Romney to oppose President Obama?
Well, I think that op-ed by Mitt Romney proves what Tim Pawlenty said, that it was Obamacare. You can't read that USA Today editorial that Governor Romney wrote back when I guess he thought it was a good idea to be for national health care and not reach the conclusion that he was outlining literally what became Obamacare, clearly calling for a national mandate, suggesting it be at the national level. And I think it makes all of his recent explanations look very phony and very, frankly, very lacking in honesty.
Well, this morning I heard on the radio that RNC Chairman Reince Priebus was talking about the importance of the Latino vote in 2012. A recent poll shows that about 31% of Latinos likely to vote Republican in the remaining primaries are still undecided. How do you get those folks to vote for you, and what does their support mean for your overall campaign?
Well, I think first of all, we have to recognize that they have the very same pocketbook issues everybody else does. When I talk about getting back to $2.50 a gallon gasoline and having an American energy policy that would mean that no American president would ever again bow to a Saudi king, we really get very, very positive response, and that includes from Latinos. In California, for example, we have 17 Latino co-chairs in the state who are working with me, and they say that jobs, take-home pay, the cost of gasoline, all of these things are very central to the vote. And in addition, there are faith-based issues. The fact that President Obama is declaring war on the Catholic Church is seen by many Latinos as a war on their church. And I consistently have people coming up to see me, for example, at the Basilica, where my wife Callista sings in the Basilica choir. And people who are visiting who are Latino from all over the country will walk up to me and tell me that they are with me and that they're glad that I'm standing up for religious liberty against President Obama.
Well, you talked about this, and you have been focusing a lot of attention and energy on your energy plan. You say it's vital to solving the deficit and national debt problem. Please explain.
Well, the best estimate we've seen is that if we opened up federal land and we opened up offshore development, that the royalties that would be paid would be somewhere between 16 and 18 trillion, not billion, trillion dollars. And that amount of money, if you set it to one side and didn't spend it, that would literally be enough to pay off the national debt. So the key would be to get to a balanced budget, which I've done once before. And when I was Speaker, we passed 4 consecutive balanced budgets, which is the only time in your lifetime that we've had 4 consecutive balanced budgets. We paid off $405 billion in debt. So literally, if you were to put the royalties from oil and gas off to one side, develop federal land and develop offshore, you'd be in a position where you could, I think, literally pay off the entire federal debt over the next generation.
Well, let's talk about AIPAC, which will be an important event for you this week. We heard President Obama speak there yesterday. Of course, AIPAC being the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. The conference is going on right now. Give us your reaction to the president's comments.
Well, the president sounds better than he has any time before, but I don't see any action to reinforce it. I mean, the Iranians announced that they have accelerated their development of nuclear material. Nothing has been done. They've kicked out the inspectors. Nothing has been done. They've announced they have new cyclotrons that are more efficient and or new centrifuges, rather, that are more efficient. Nothing has been done. So the question is, other than saying a few words at a political meeting in order to try to get votes, what is what's the president prepared to do? I was glad to see that he admitted that an Israeli prime minister did have the right to defend his country, and that after the Holocaust, an Israeli prime minister had a moral obligation to intervene to preemptively stop any potential of a second Holocaust. But I have no idea what he's saying in private to Netanyahu, and I get a sense that there's very great tension between the American and Israeli governments. And of course, you saw a couple of months ago the Secretary of Defense saying, attacking Israel and demanding that Israel come back to the table to negotiate at a time when there had been 11 missiles fired into Israel from Gaza in 1 month. So I think the administration tends to be one-sidedly critical of Israel, except once a year when AIPAC holds its conference, at which point the president is very pro-Israeli for up to 96 hours.
Can you give us a preview of what you plan on talking about?
I'm going to say that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, period. That the United States has to be prepared to do whatever it takes to stop them. I'm also going to say that if an Israeli prime minister decided the survival of his country was at stake, I would respect that decision because he bears the moral burden. And I'm going to say that an American energy policy designed to make us independent of the Middle East and to enable us to exercise our influence in the region without any worry about what they might do with their oil supply is a essential national strategy for us.
At this point, given that Iran seems unwilling to back away from their nuclear goals, what options do we have other than some sort of military action?
Well, I think they have the option of developing a strategy like President Reagan and Prime Minister Thatcher and Pope John Paul II did, where they used every method short of war to undermine and replace the Soviet Empire. And if we were to bring that kind of covert pressure to bear, I think we could very rapidly destabilize the current dictatorship and begin to create a different environment in Iran.
You also recently criticized President Obama for apologizing to the people of Afghanistan after burned Korans were found at Bagram Air Force Base. What would you have done in that situation?
Well, first of all, the president should have said these are Korans that had been defaced by Muslim extremists who were being held prisoner. They were being used to carry messages back and forth, and he should have called on the clerics to condemn the Muslim extremists who had been defacing the Koran. Second, I don't believe you apologize when young Americans are being killed. I think it increases the danger. You'll notice now that the UN General Secretary's representative has said he thought the Americans should now be tried because the president has admitted guilt. I think it's a very dangerous thing for President of the United States to get involved at this level.
Recently, the Reverend Franklin Graham said that President Obama is giving Islam, quote, a free pass. Reverend Graham also said that the U.S. is doing little or nothing to stop the increased persecutions of Christians in the Middle East and Africa. Do you agree with his assessment?
Oh, I think Reverend Graham is exactly right, and I think that I've said that it's very strange. You have a president who is immediately willing to apologize to religious extremists and fanatics in Islam while he is attacking the Catholic Church in the United States, and I just think that's a very strange set of priorities.
And what would you be able to do to help persecuted Christians and make them a priority?
Well, I think you, first of all, should just the act of making representation, of tying American foreign aid to it, of tying American investment policies, of highlighting it. I mean, the fact that the Iranians, for example, have sentenced to death a Christian minister is something that should be horrifying to all of us. The fact that churches are burned in Nigeria, in Egypt, and Malaysia by Muslim militants is something we should be openly, aggressively protesting.
All right, Speaker Gingrich, I know you have a busy day on the campaign trail. We'll let you get back to it. Thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.